Inside the Magic, show number 331 for August 7th, 2011. It is Sunday, August 7th, 2011, and this is show 331 of Inside the Magic. As always, I'm your host, Ricky Briganti. We do have another great show packed with Disney and theme park news and a whole lot more fun. And before we get started with all of that, I invite all of you to visit InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and so much more. And if you ever have any news, tips, or questions, you can write to me at Ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you once again by Magical Travel. Hungry for a great deal? Well, Walt Disney World free dining is once again returning for select dates beginning August 28th of just a couple of weeks from now until March 31st of 2012, but you need to book now for the best availability, so you're going to want to call Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote, and be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And by listeners like you, thanks very much for your contributions to the show, be it direct donations via PayPal from the website or clicking through any of our affiliate links. And with that said, I've actually got one more sponsor brought to you by also this week by Audible.com. You can get a free audiobook download by going to audibletrial.com/InsideTheMagic. Great way to help out the show, and you can have access to over 85,000 titles to choose from for your iPod or MP3 player. It's a great way to do it. Again, audibletrial.com/InsideTheMagic. Thanks very much for your support, and now let's get the show rolling with our trip around the world. So, no point in delaying things. How about we just jump right into this week's news, of which there is actually a pretty good amount. So some really exciting stuff coming up. First up, over out here in Orlando at the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, very, very soon, we're going to see the return of the good old Enchanted Tiki Room. Disney recently announced that August 15th is going to be the re-debut date of this old new version of the Enchanted Tiki Room. It's not the under new management version any longer. That is gone. Iago and Zazu are gone. The new version is going to be called Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room, featuring more than 200 birds, flowers, and tikis forming the show, but with some upgraded new technology, including remastered audio, energy-efficient lighting, a better control system. All that will make it a smoother and more entertaining show. It'll be similar to the old classic Tropical Serenade version, also similar to the Disneyland version of the Enchanted Tiki Room, but with some tweaks, I've been told. But we'll have to see what those surprises are. When it reopens, it's possible it'll open a little sooner than August 15th, maybe some soft openings. Disney did say that it is tentative, that date, August 15th, so don't 100% hold me to it and don't hold them to it, but that's kind of the date that they're shooting for the Enchanted Tiki Room to return in its wonderful old version that I really look forward to seeing. Coming up pretty soon next month, actually Mark from Oregon, Inside the Magic listener, alerted me to this, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it sometime in the past. I just haven't mentioned it recently, and maybe people will be interested in going. I'm not sure if tickets are sold out or anything like that. It's the Florida Project Epcot event. Epcot has an annual pin trading event, and this year's theme is the Florida Project, history of Walt Disney World, classic Walt Disney World. It is the 40th anniversary coming up very soon, and that's going to take place September 9th through 11th. So, if tickets are still available, maybe you can hop over there. Otherwise, there's usually some merchandise left over after the event is all wrapped up. And over at the Grand Floridian Hotel, it has been rumored for quite some time that a vacation club expansion is coming to that hotel. Well, Disney is not confirming that yet. However, it was released this week that the spa over at the Grand Floridian is going to be closing for 18 months. And Disney says it's part of, quote, early stages of an expansion project at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, end quote. But they didn't elaborate as to whether that expansion project is indeed a vacation club, but it really seems like it is. The spa will be closing beginning September 19th, again for 18 months. A little bit of a change-up this week in leadership out here at Walt Disney World, actually following on a change-up just last month. Rylas Carter was formerly the vice president of Disney's Hollywood Studios. Just last month moved over to become vice president of Epcot. Now he's moving on from Epcot to a new position called vice president of catering and convention services and park event operations. That's certainly a mouthful. The new vice president of Epcot is named Aaron Young, or Aaron Youngs. I've seen it written both ways. I'm not sure which one is correct. Either way, apparently Aaron is currently the vice president in finance, also part of the Next Generation Experience Group, which is where Jim McPhee went to from Epcot when he was vice president, and Scott in the chat room is correcting me or letting me know that Youngs is indeed the name. So it is Aaron Youngs. Thanks for that. And so, it's always interesting to see how Disney moves around their executives. Also, Meg Crofton made her way out to Disneyland, I believe just this week, to, meet with everybody out there now that she is up the totem pole or ladder or whatever you want to call it, and overseeing operations out here at Walt Disney World and in California and in Paris as well. So, for day-to-day regular park guests in the park, all these executive changes may not be noticeable directly, but certainly a change in leadership here and there will affect the actual operations of any of these parks. So we'll have to wait and see how Aaron Youngs does over at Epcot. All right, let's jump coasts now over to California. Here's kind of a strange story. A Disney audition website will often post casting calls, as they do, in order to hire people for various shows, parades, performances, that sort of thing, throughout the parks. And this week, a casting audition call went up on the website for a show that hadn't been announced yet, called Minnie's Fly Girls Charter Airlines for Disney California Adventure. Of course, Minnie has been appearing in an aviator outfit for quite some time, sort of near Soarin' in the Condor Flats area. That's nothing new, but this show, presumably for that area, is supposed to take place or debut sometime in October in the park, featuring Minnie Mouse, as well as some stewardesses in a sort of interactive song and dance routine. The audition that was posted described the show as, quote, a tune-filled travelogue of song, dance, and guest interactive moments fueled by the adventurous optimism of three bright stewardesses, also known as Minnie's Fly Girls, a witty control tower operator, and our charter airline owner herself, Minnie Mouse. It will feature songs from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. The stage show will be outdoors, featuring female and male actors. Well, shortly thereafter, the audition online, the audition call was actually canceled. So who knows if it's because Disney hadn't announced the show yet, or maybe it was just canceled, or maybe the show was canceled. It's hard to say at this point, but that is going to be, if the show takes place, that's roughly the dynamic that will take place in the show. And it's also interesting to note that coming up on, I believe, September 25th on Disney's ABC television network will be the new show Pan Am. And that show, of course, follows stewardesses in the 1960s, which is not exactly the same as Minnie's Fly Girls Charter Airlines, but certainly along the same lines. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a tie-in to be found there. Okay, also at the Disneyland Resort, Best Buy is expanding its Best Buy Express kiosk business, is going to be setting up a Best Buy kiosk at the Disneyland Resort, somewhere in the downtown Disney area. Julie St. Marie, business leader of Best Buy Express, said in a statement, quote, the arrival of our self-serve kiosks at Disney is a testament to the continued growth of Best Buy Express, end quote. So if you need an iPod or something like that, whatever you get at a Best Buy Express, a little bit of electronics or a CD or something, you can look for it at Disneyland pretty soon. While we're talking about Disneyland, I should mention here that this week I posted number 3 in our Suite series over at InsideTheMagic.net, where this time we take you on a virtual tour of the Pirates of the Caribbean Suite at Disneyland Hotel. We had previously looked at the Big Thunder Suite as well as the Adventureland Suite. Well, here's number 3, Pirates of the Caribbean. Got a couple of more to go through, but you can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net and check that out to see photos and video from throughout that fairly elaborate suite. Now I want to talk a D23 Expo here for a little bit, because there has been even more scheduling changes and updates and additions to announce this week as we grow closer and closer to the actual event itself. And actually a little bit later in this week's show, I want to kind of run through my own thoughts on how you can get the most out of the D23 Expo, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's talk scheduling here. First up, the Walt Disney Studios presentation, which we had previously said is going to be on the Saturday, August 20th, for the D23 Expo, which is taking place a couple of weeks from now in Anaheim at the Anaheim Convention Center. That Walt Disney Studios presentation is now going to be 2.5 hours long. It was previously scheduled as 1.5 hours long, so it sounds like it's going to be packed with celebrities and entertainment for it to be 2.5 hours. Should be really, really exciting. Of course, back at the 2009 D23 Expo, that's when we saw Miley Cyrus perform a song. We saw John Travolta, and I think Nicolas Cage was there, and Tim Burton, and Robert Zemeckis, and of course, Johnny Depp came out as Captain Jack Sparrow, and much, much more. It's certainly going to be very, very exciting. In addition to that, Disney and D23 have released what they're calling a talent roundup, and there's going to be an area of the D23 Expo this time around where there's going to be almost non-stop meet and greets throughout all 3 days of the D23 Expo, where you're going to be able to meet all kinds of Disney-related celebrities and artists and Imagineers, and well, let me just kind of run through the people that you'll be able to see there. Beginning on Friday, August 19th. In the morning will be miniaturist and sculptor Robert Olszewski, followed by Precious Moments doll artist Linda Rick, followed by graphic designer Thomas Scott and artist Alex Maher, followed by authors Ridley Pearson and Dave Barry, followed by filmmaker and author Don Hahn, followed by Walt Disney Archives founder and Disney legend Dave Smith, followed by the men and women who provide voices for the Disney parks. That one's a little bit obscure, but it should be interesting to see people who provide voices for the parks. Certainly a popular topic amongst fans there. Next day, Saturday, August 20th, beginning at 10 a.m., will be Disney artist Mike Clitheroe. Following him will be ABC Family's Melissa Joan Hart and Joey Lawrence, who, yeah, they're on ABC Family, but to me, that's still Clarissa from Clarissa Explains It All, and Joey from Blossom. Yeah. Anyway, following that, our filmmakers Greg and Jeff Sherman. And then after that, a D23 Expo Dream Store artist Noah. Following him, filmmakers Ted Thomas and Kuniko Okubo. And then following them, Disney artist and Imagineer Larry Nicolai. Then on Sunday, beginning at 10 a.m., this is August 21st, Disney artist Mike Clitheroe will be there once again, followed by graphic designer Thomas Scott and artist Alex Maher once more. And once again after them, Precious Moments doll artist Linda Rick. And once again, to round out that day, Dream Store miniaturist and sculptor Robert Olszewski. So quite the lineup. It sounds like if you missed some of the people on Friday, a lot of them will be there again on Sunday, but a huge variety of people that everybody can have a chance to meet and see. Of course, this is just one area of the D23 Expo where celebrities will be. We've previously mentioned a whole other area in the Collectors Forum from Cool Waters Productions, where they're going to be bringing a whole line of celebrities who you can meet and mingle with. That's a bit separate from Disney's official guests that are here, and actually we'll have a little bit more on that later in this week's show as well. Now, Disney also announced two preview screenings for ABC that will be at the D23 Expo. In addition to the screenings, they're going to be showing behind-the-scenes bits as well as Q&A sessions with the creators of these, and they're going to be moderated by D23's Disney Geek host Jeffrey Epstein. The two shows that are going to be shown off are Prep and Landing, Naughty versus Nice, which is the newest installment in the Prep and Landing series. And for that one, it's going to be at Friday, August 19th at 12:45 p.m. in Stage 23, featuring a Q&A session with Emmy Award-winning directors Kevin Dieters and Stevie Wormers-Skelton, as well as producer Dorothy McKim. And then the following day, Saturday, August 20th at 12:45 p.m., again, in Stage 23, is going to be a look at the upcoming ABC show, Once Upon a Time. And that show is sort of a fairy tale world mixed with the real world. Kind of interesting. It looks pretty decent from the trailers that have been released. In the Q&A session there will be Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz, who are the executive producers and writers of Lost, as well as the writers of Tron Legacy. So if you're a fan of Lost or Tron Legacy at least, then maybe you'll want to sit in on the Q&A there. I'm sure they're going to want to take questions about Once Upon a Time exclusively, but you might be able to sneak in a question or two about some of those others as well. Now, these presentations, as D23 adds more and more to the D23 Expo schedule, there is becoming quite a bit of overlap in the scheduling. You can't see everything. In this case, the Prep and Landing screening is going to overlap with the previously announced Jake and the Neverland Pirates storytelling event featuring Dave Barry, Ridley Pearson, and David Arquette. And the Once Upon a Time screening is overlapping with the appearance of Disney Channel's Kickin' It. Now, it's unlikely that those who want to see Prep and Landing are also going to want to see the Jake and Neverland Pirates thing, and it's unlikely those who are going to want to see Once Upon a Time are going to also want to see Kickin' It, but you never know. You're just going to have to, just plan and figure out which one you want to go to. But that is not it for updates, or rather additions to the D23 schedule, D23 Expo schedule. Disney Consumer Products and Disney Living Pavilion have also added some details about what they're bringing to the Expo in what they're calling neighborhoods. They're calling 3 neighborhoods, actually: Style, Play, and Celebrations, kind of different areas of the convention floor of the D23 Expo. They're going to unveil a new Hallmark keepsake ornament, some new Toy Story Woody action figure, and a Finn McMissile Cars vehicle from Mattel, a Minnie Mouse plush from Just Play, and a limited edition 25th anniversary items from the Disney Store. There will also be a Disney Living social media lounge. In addition to all of that, there will be stage shows. On Stage 23, United States Postal Service will have a first-day issue ceremony for the Disney Pixar Send a Hello commemorative stamps. That will feature special guest John Lasseter, as well as Ronald A. Stroman, who is the Deputy Postmaster General for the United States Postal Service. Then on Stage 28 will be It's a Small World celebrating 45 years panel discussion. That's going to feature Walt Disney Imagineering, Disney Parks and Resorts, and Disney Consumer Products, as well as Disney legend Alice Davis, who of course worked on It's a Small World and Pirates of the Caribbean and many, many other things. So that should be quite entertaining as well. Over Disney Play at the Disney Living Pavilion will feature Rockstar Mickey, which is a new version of this dancing, singing little toy similar to Dance Star Mickey, but now it's Rockstar Mickey, and they're going to unveil that with a special musical performance that will feature Broadway star Constantine Maroulis, who you probably know best from one of the early seasons of American Idol. He didn't win. I'm not even sure he was a finalist. Maybe he was. I don't know, but he's going to be there. As I said, there's going to be a Mattel booth. There will also be a Jack's Pacific area that's going to feature some games, as well as a life-sized Lightning McQueen created out of Lego bricks. In the Disney Style area, there will be It's a Small World area there with infant and children's clothing and accessories. Hallmark's annual Disney keepsake ornament is going to be a Pookaloo's style Steamboat Willie. Kind of a different way of doing an ornament there. In the Disney Beauty Lounge, there will be pampering and special beauty demonstrations. And in the Wonderful Words of Disney, will be sponsored by Disney Publishing, in which there will be a panel discussion called Behind the Page, along with signings with Disney authors Dave Barry, Ridley Pearson, and Don Hahn on stage 28. Let's see, did I miss anything there? There's going to be something called Disney Storytellers, Artists of Walt Disney Animation Studios. That's a panel discussion on August 20th. There will be Disney Celebrations, a real party with some balloons and games, and Disney Store will be there with Vinylmation and Wish-A-Littles, and Disney Baby will be there as well. That was quite the exhaustive list of everything that Disney Consumer Products is bringing to the Disney Living Pavilion, so no shortage of products to sift through at the D23 Expo. And with all of that said, certainly so much on the D23 Expo schedule. It's not even complete yet, believe it or not. They've said that they're not going to finish announcing additions to the schedule and adding things to the schedule until about a week before the Expo is here. So basically sometime this week, hopefully, they'll finally finalize the schedule. But since it's not done yet, you're just going to have to keep checking back to InsideTheMagic.net, check the D23 Expo website, and listen to next week's show for all of the latest additions. All right, all of that out of the way, let's talk Universal Orlando here for a moment with Halloween Horror Nights, because they have finally begun to tease some hints about what is going to be showing up in Halloween Horror Nights 21. They're asking, are you in? Kind of following the gambling, chance, fate theme that they've been putting out. And they released one image from one of the haunted houses, though they haven't quite said what exactly that it is. And it's certainly looking scary and blacklit and Halloween infested and all of that, but I don't know what it is, and nobody else does. Well, somebody does, but they work for Universal and they can't say, so we'll find out pretty soon what is going to be going on for that event. However, if you go on over to the Halloween Horror Nights Orlando website, you can play some luck and chance-based games, some card games, and some other just pure luck. And you try to accumulate some tokens, and more of those will be popping up over the next few weeks with the goal of, I'm really not sure what at this point. A lot of teasing going on, basically, but I'm looking forward to seeing it all. Let's jump around the world now to Hong Kong Disneyland, where it was unveiled this week. What's going on in honor of the 5th anniversary of Hong Kong Disneyland? The castle there, Sleeping Beauty Castle, is being transformed into Tinkerbell Castle. There's all kinds of gold elements wrapping around the castle that are basically representing Tinkerbell's trail of pixie dust, and when it lights up at night, it becomes very obvious that that is exactly what it is. Looks like a fun overlay of the Hong Kong Disneyland castle. All right, in the world of movies now, a really great, fun poster. The official final one-sheet poster for The Muppets, the new movie coming out in November, was released this week. And, of course, it has Amy Adams and Jason Segel on there, who are the human stars of The Muppets, in addition to, well, just about every Muppet imaginable is on the poster. You can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to see a high-resolution version of it, and if you've got a favorite Muppet, chances are you'll be able to spot him or her or it somewhere on that poster. Here's some sort of interesting news that's making its way around this week, and it's something that we actually sort of hinted at and talked about on a couple of weeks ago when we talked to John Meyer, who was the production designer for Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. I had a chance to talk to him while at the San Diego Comic-Con, and he mentioned that he had worked on some design work for a sort of a unique take on Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, in which the dwarves would be sort of Chinese warriors of sorts. Well, all of that seems to be moving forward, surprisingly, in a live-action version, possibly called The Order of the Seven. It, of course, would be set in China. It's something that Disney's been developing since 2002, and as I said, the dwarves would be each their own sort of Chinese warrior that fights in a different, unique style. Sounds like a bizarre but possibly entertaining variation on the classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs story. For all of you with 3D TVs and 3D Blu-ray players out there, there are some new 3D releases coming from Disney that were announced this week. They're all hitting the streets on November 8th, and they are Bolt 3D, Meet the Robinsons 3D, Chicken Little 3D, and G-Force 3D. And final bit of news this week was actually quite a surprise as it slowly made its way around Boom Studios and Kaboom, their kids unit, have been working on Disney comic books for many months now. In fact, a few years now. The Muppets and Pixar, and most recently some Disney afternoon titles, Darkwing Duck, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and DuckTales, and I've really been enjoying them. However, it came out just in the last few days that apparently they are losing their Disney licenses, with Disney having acquired Marvel, and of course Marvel being a comic book creator for many, many years now. It seems Disney wants to involve Marvel with these comics, perhaps, rather than having them through this outside company of Boom Studios. So the Muppets and Pixar have actually left Boom quite a while ago, and as of this October, the Disney afternoon titles are going to end at Boom Studios. That means Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers will no longer be produced, at least at Boom. Disney has not said if they're going to continue these titles with Marvel or if they're just going to end them there. Boom is already planning sort of a finale episode, issue for Darkwing Duck and DuckTales. It'll be a crossover installment, Dangerous Currency Part 4, and that'll come out in October, and that'll be the end of the partnership between Boom, Kaboom, and Disney, it seems, for the moment, which I'm really disappointed about. I've really enjoyed reading the Darkwing Duck comics. I've been all the way through there, and I've bought the DuckTales ones so far. Haven't had a chance to dive into them, but I do hope that they continue the series over with Marvel and just pick up right where they left off, because it would be a real disappointment to bring back these characters that everybody has loved and were gone for so long from the Disney afternoon back in the 90s, and now they're back, and it would stink if they were gone again. So anyway, there's my take on it. Yeah, so that's it for your news from around the world this week.
It's a tip for today.
And this week's tip comes in from David, who writes, "Want to save money on a diet? Order from the children's menu. My fiance and I don't eat big meals, and 2 adult-sized portions are often too filling for us. So our solution was ordering meals from the children's menu. Typically, we got 1 adult meal and 1 children's meal. First, there's the big savings. For example, our breakfast at our hotel, a value hotel, instead of a full adult omelet, potatoes, and adult milk pint, $9.18 plus tax, we would get the child scrambled eggs, bacon strip, applesauce, grapes, and a Mickey milk pint for $4.39 plus tax. When we did this, not only was it a savings of as much as 50% in meal cost, but the kids' meal has fewer calories. The example above or here has about 400 fewer calories. And despite the smaller size, the kids' meals were filling and a perfect size for adults if you're trying to keep to a 1,200 to 1,800 calorie per day diet. You can use this tip at any quick service restaurant. Table service places won't give you the children's menu unless you actually have a child. Imagine that. But the other takers won't ask guests any questions if they have a child or anything like that. Disney may want only kids to eat off the kids menu, but my fiance and I found this so helpful on our trip. We saved a lot of money, and we would have wasted a lot of food. We both regularly ordered, if we had both regularly ordered on the adults menu. Definitely a great tip there. I've certainly been trying to eat smaller portions, kind of normal size portions, if you will, and I have definitely looked at some kids portions of food, and it seemed like a whole lot for kids, probably too much for kids to eat, and just the right amount for adults. It would be good if just kind of all portions were slightly less. Definitely a great tip. I think everybody, if you followed that and just ate a little bit less, then perhaps everybody would, anybody who wanted to, could lose some weight, like I have been doing for the past few months. It worked out for me. So good tip. Everyone else out there, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. Now we've got a couple of really fun features coming up on this week's show, but before I get to those, I want to put in a quick word about Lanyard Lab. If you've got a business to promote, or maybe you're going to a convention such as the D23 Expo and you're looking for something great to hand out, if you have a booth or you're just walking around and you want to advertise something, custom lanyards would enable you to put your whatever it is that you're promoting right there printed on a lanyard. You could put a logo, just text any colors that you'd like, and all of that can be accomplished by visiting visiting lanyardlab.com. Just fill out the price quote request form over there, and you'll find it's very easy to receive a price quote back, along with a proof showing you what the lanyards will look like. And if you're all set with everything, just place your order online. Simple as that. So check it out over at lanyardlab.com. So let's jump right into some D23 Expo talk. And before we get to what I said earlier, which is that we were going to talk a little bit about planning for the D23 Expo coming up in just a couple of weeks, I have a short chat to share with you here. This week I had a chance to participate in a conference call arranged by D23 with Star Wars star Billy Dee Williams. Of course, anyone who has seen Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi knows Billy Dee Williams as Lando Calrissian, and actually he's also a painter, has been a painter for quite some time, a very accomplished painter. And so what I want to share with you is a bit of an audio clip that I've edited together from the conversation. It's really a few highlights from this conference call that, a lot of everybody was, or a lot of people were sitting in on the call asking a lot of questions, and I pulled out what I thought were the most entertaining bits, of course, including the questions that I asked. We started by talking a little bit about his new painting that he's going to be unveiling for the D23 Expo, and that you'll be able to buy prints of, as well as meet him there. And then we talk a bit about Star Tours and his experiences meeting with fans. But first, let's hear what Billy Dee had to say about his painting that he'll be sharing at the Expo.
It's a whole kind of a jazz kind of presentation. It's about Mickey Mouse. It's Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Donald Duck and Goofy and Pluto. They're all playing as jazz. They're jazz musicians, and I'm sort of participating.
You are most famous of being Lando Calrissian from the Star Wars series. Have you had a chance to check out Disney's updated Star Tours ride, and do you wish Lando had made an appearance somewhere in there?
No, I haven't, but I hear it's pretty spectacular. And I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I'll have an opportunity to experience it, so that'll be a lot of fun.
One of the destinations that we didn't make it to was, of course, that Cloud City that Lando was in the Star Wars films. If Star Tours made it there, do you think Lando would have welcomed this runaway vehicle?
Well, as long as Darth Vader isn't following behind, I suppose. No, as long as there's no hostile, as long as it's not hostile, it's quite welcome. Yes, I think that Lando probably would welcome the whole situation.
And you're going to be at the D23 Expo, signing with fans. In your experiences with, working one-on-one with fans who know you as Lando and fans of your paintings, do you find it to be overwhelming at times, or do you really enjoy meeting with fans?
Oh, no, not at all. I always enjoy it. Great.
When you do meet with fans, have there been any strange encounters, people who have tattoos of you or anything like that?
Yeah, but nothing serious. I mean, it's always a little, sometimes very peculiar, but I mean, nothing that I can say has been a bad experience. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. I'll be there, so I'm really looking forward to it. I always look forward to the whole Disney experience anyway, like most people.
And that was none other than Billy Dee Williams sharing a few thoughts about Star Tours, and if Lando had been there. Good to hear that Lando would have aided the Star Speeders and the runaway rebels despite Darth Vader's presence, as long as maybe he didn't get in trouble. You'll have a chance to meet Billy Dee Williams at the D23 Expo over in the Cool Waters Productions booth in the Collectors Forum. He's going to be there from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's 2 hours only on Friday, August 19th. And autograph tickets tickets will be available for purchase for all of the talent that'll be there for Cool Waters Productions. That's Billy Dee Williams, plus some people from Pirates of the Caribbean, as well as Tron and Tron Legacy, and some Marvel stars. They're bringing all of them to their booth at the D23 Expo. And in addition to all of that, guests who purchase one of Billy Dee's own pieces will actually not need to obtain an autograph ticket because an autograph will be included with the purchase of the print. And I think the cost of that print that Billy Dee is working on is somewhere around $90, $95, $100. So not exactly inexpensive, but you'll have a chance to meet him, and I'm sure it's a wonderful piece of artwork. So now I do want to get into talking about the D23 Expo itself, beyond what we've already talked about, which was the schedule for the past few weeks. We've been, mentioning all the updates that are there, and of course you can go online and read the full schedule. There's no point in me running through all of that here again. But what I do want to talk about is the fact that it's only 12 days away now. It's August 19th through 21st at the Anaheim Convention Center. The hours are very long each day. Starts at 9 a.m., ends at 9:30 p.m. on the latest day, which is Saturday. Very, very long time to be spending there. And though the schedule is still not finalized for the D23 Expo, I really wanted to give everybody out there kind of a chance to plan. This may be your first time at the D23 Expo, maybe your second time if you were there in 2009. This time around, the Expo could be very different, but I thought I'd offer some tips based on my experiences last time at the 2009 D23 Expo. Of course, you can go back and listen to the very, very long recap of the whole Expo from 2009 back in shows 232, 233, 234, and 235. It was 232 where I talked for a few hours about the whole thing, and then the following episodes were sharing some audio from actual presentations and some press conferences as well. So if you want to look back at the 2009 Expo, that's the best way to do that. But looking ahead to 12 days from now, the number one tip that I would offer anybody who's planning on going to the Expo is just be realistic about what you're going to be able to see. You're not going to be able to see everything. It's absolutely impossible to fit all of it in, and a little bit of planning ahead can go a very long way. In 2009, I actually did not see any of the smaller presentations because I was juggling going to the arena presentations, which were the biggest and most entertaining in my opinion from what I saw. I didn't see the smaller ones, so I can't say how entertaining those were. But in addition to that, I had a booth, and I was, covering the whole event and trying to just see it all, and it was just too much to juggle. So I'm taking a step back with no booth this time around, and hopefully I'll be able to fit in much, much more with it being 3 days this time around. Now, of course, the D23 Expo is located in Anaheim. It's at the Anaheim Convention Center, as I said, which is the convention center is very large. It's sort of part of it is one side is on West Catella, and then another sort of main entrance is on Convention Way, or West Convention Way as it might be called, and it's really just south of the backside of California Adventure. So if you're in Disneyland area, you can certainly walk to the convention center, but it's not a short walk necessarily. If you imagine being in the Esplanade and entering California Adventure and walking clear to the backside, well, that's about how far the convention center is. A little bit further because you have to cross the street from there, from the Esplanade. So it's definitely a decent journey away from Disneyland, though it is close by. Now, if you don't have a hotel already for the D23 Expo, you might be out of luck. There are certainly lots of hotels in the area. I'm sure there is some availability, but you might end up paying a whole lot at this point. There's a Hilton and Marriott right outside the main entrance of the convention center, where the D23 Expo is, but those can be a little bit more pricey. It is nice to have that convenience of being able to walk right back to the hotel that's right outside the convention center if you're going to be spending 3 days there. But of course, there's plenty of hotels all up and down Catella and Harbor Boulevard. There's lots of hotels for Disneyland. But as I said, a lot of it may be already booked up. Now, transportation is certainly an interesting point for the D23 Expo. If you're planning on only going to the Expo, not the parks, not such a big deal. You can find your way from your hotel wherever you are, or if you're local, obviously you can drive, and just make your way over to the convention center. But last time when I was there, I didn't have a rental car. I used a shuttle to get to and from the airport to my hotel near the convention center, and I actually ended up just hopping in a taxi to get from the convention center to Disneyland each night to grab whatever park time I could find after the expo had concluded for the day in order to fit some into my trip. It was about $5. I think it may have been exactly $5 to get from the convention center to drop you off at Disneyland Esplanade, and then another $5 to go back. Not exactly cheap, but when you're tired and you've been walking around the convention all day and you just want to get to Disneyland quickly, that's going to be a pretty easy way to go if you're willing to spend the $5, and you can pile a few people into a taxi and split that cost. Then at that point it's not so bad. That would be my recommendation, and I think that's what I'm going to be doing again. At one point last time around, I actually went into the Grand Californian, even though I wasn't staying there, and went into their transportation area and to see if I could get a taxi from there, which is, I was just going to hop in a taxi. They was going to drive me over. I'd pay for it, whatever. And one of the people working at the Grand Californian actually offered to go pull a car around and just drive me over there, which I thought was a really nice gesture. I ended up giving him the $5. He didn't ask for it, but he didn't ask for any money. I don't know if he thought I was staying at the hotel or what. He was taking me to a different hotel, so he probably realized I wasn't staying there. But it ended up working out really nice because it was about midnight at that point. So, not necessarily saying that you'll have any luck doing that same thing, but I certainly wouldn't mind hopping in any kind of transportation as opposed to walking all the way from the convention center after being on your feet all day walking around the convention center. So let's say you're going to the D23 Expo. How are you going to get in the morning? Well, last time around in 2009, there's a certain time that they open the doors, of course. And before that, people were lining up outside the convention center to get in. There were people who were there who wanted to get in at the front of the line every single day for every single arena presentation. And so they would line up, get in, get out, line up again. It really depends on what you want to get out of the D23 Expo. There are certainly going to be lines, and if you feel like getting there early in the morning and lining up outside and then going inside and lining up some more, then great. Go ahead. Just expect that is what's going to happen in the morning. Don't expect to show up there at 9 a.m. when the doors open for the masses and just kind of waltz right in. There's also going to be some early entry for some D23 members, and I believe there were some other packages sold at higher prices and that kind of thing. So some people will get in before others, and that's just what you can expect at that point. Now, once you get inside in the morning at the D23 Expo, you have to make a choice about what it is that you're going to be doing once you're in there. Are you going to go line up to go into the big arena and get a really great seat in there? Are you going to go line up for another presentation, or are you just going to want to explore the floor? Well, in my opinion, exploring the D23 Expo floor is not the number one priority when you first get there on Friday, August 19th. The floor is not going anywhere. Yeah, there are special happenings throughout all 3 days, but essentially what is being exhibited on the convention floor on day one is the same that's going to be there at the end of day 3, more or less. So you can really enjoy the convention floor area at your convenience. It's a big, open convention hall, assuming that it's going to be the same this time as it was last time, as it is in many, many conventions. There's going to be a lot of booths that are quite spaced out, pretty easy to navigate around, some comfortable carpeting under your feet, and you don't necessarily have to just pack it all and see it all at once. You can take it at your convenience and, hit a booth here, hit a booth there, go to some presentations. Surprisingly, at the D23 Expo in 2009, the hall area was much more spaced out, like many conventions that I've been to. San Diego Comic-Con, of course, I was just there, and it was packed beyond packed. packed, not a open space to be found, and practically not even enough walking space, whereas the D23 Expo last time around had a lot of walking space, a lot of open areas. So, of course, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to set it up this time around, but it's possible, or if it is the same as last time, you'll find that there's a lot of open space, plenty of room to spread out and just take it at your own convenience. Actually, last time there was so little on the floor that I was able to go through all of the booths in less than an hour, maybe 45 minutes or so. There was a lot that just didn't interest me. There's some interactivity, some games, but the Disney Parks and Resorts booth was great. That one, actually, I spent a lot more time in. I'm talking really just about everything else. There's kind of Parks and Resorts, and then everything else. So it was easy to spend a long time looking at all the models and the artwork and everything that they had from the parks. Everything else was eh. So we'll see if it's going to be the same this time around. Unlike Comic-Con, there weren't a whole lot of giveaways at the D23 Expo last time. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of swag to walk around or walk away from. This time around, we'll have to wait and see. And it does seem like the floor experience this time is going to be a little bit different. There wasn't quite as much activity scheduled last time as there is this time. A lot of the meet and greets and different stages and that kind of thing. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, on one side, off to the side of the convention hall, last time was the store that they had set up, the Dream Store, or whatever it is they're calling it for the expo. And really, it's just like a Disney store. You kind of walk inside. It's, there's no ceiling to it other than the convention hall ceiling, but there are walls all around you with, plenty of displays and your usual assortment of retail items. It seems like there's more exclusives this time around than there were last time, but there's, I'm sure, going to be plenty of Disney items that you can find elsewhere as well. So depending on how much you want to spend, you may or may not spend a lot of time in the D23 Expo store. Now, on the clear opposite side of the convention hall, last time was the Collectors Forum, and it's going to be back again this time. This is the unofficial area. This is where anybody who wanted to have a booth at the D23 Expo will be. This is kind of your more traditional convention-style area where it's booth after booth after booth right next to each other, packed together. The lineup is actually on the D23 website now of who is going to be exhibiting there. And again, this is not Disney. These are other companies who are having booths there. There's going to be a lot of artwork, collectibles being sold and resold, websites, podcasts, people selling stuff and promoting stuff, basically. As you walk through and you talk to people at these booths, some are very, very friendly. Some are just looking to make a buck. These are not Disney employees. These are anybody who's just having a booth there. So you never know the type of person that you're going to run into, but hopefully at a Disney convention, everybody will try to be friendly. Last time, Saturday was definitely the most packed in this area. The other days were pretty light on crowds, but then on Saturday it got quite a bit more busy in the Collectors Forum area. And then, as is the case with really any convention where they're selling things in a booth, the very end of the convention, late on Sunday, in this case on August 21st, is going to be your best time to get deals from these exhibitors. Of course, things could sell out and disappear throughout the days, but whatever is left during the last couple hours, a lot of exhibitors, a lot of companies will start selling off what they have at really low prices because they simply just don't want to haul it away. They've brought it all there, they wanted to sell it there, and they just want to get rid of it. So if there's something that you don't think will sell out and it'll still be there, maybe you can get a deal on it at the very end. Scott in the chat room mentioned just now another great point is that during the arena presentations, the crowds are very light on the floor, which is true. The arena, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes, has thousands of seats, and as a result of that, most people are in there for those big presentations, and so not so many people are on the floor. So if you want kind of a better chance of walking around without bumping into people, that would be a good time to do that. And as I said earlier, I'm not going to have a booth in the Collectors Forum this time around. I'd rather see and cover everything than just kind of sit and self-promote for 3 days. So I'm going to enjoy just be walking around. Of course, if you spot me walking around, please feel free to stop me, say hi. I'll be more than happy to stop and chat with you, but I'm not going to be in any one particular place. However, I do want to have an Inside the Magic meetup at some point throughout the 3 days. I actually put a poll up on the Inside the Magic Facebook to see when anybody would want to meet up. And I think when I last checked, it was either after the end of the day on Sunday or after the end of the day on Friday were the leading times. And, you know, last time around, I think we had a meetup at Downtown Disney in the Uva bar area, just kind of a sit and chat sort of meetup. That was pretty fun, so maybe we could do something like that again. Maybe we can go over to the End of Line Club at Electronica. I don't know. There's a lot of options to have a meetup. Maybe we can just go to the Grand California and sit around the lobby. Lots of options. So if you have any desire to meet up, head on over to our Facebook page and we'll chat about it there. There's certainly entertainment to be found for many, many hours throughout the days of the expo, so I would try not to overlap a meetup with any of the entertainment for the expo, so most likely it'll be late at night, 10:30 at night, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes. We have a little bit of time to plan it, and maybe I'll work the details out this week and mention it on next week's show. Continuing on with the Collectors Forum, there's actually a few big names that are going to have booths there this year. Garner Holt is going to have one, which they did not back in 2009, though they have exhibited at other conventions like IAPA out here in Orlando and other cities. They've produced animatronics for Disney and many other theme parks. They worked on most recently the Little Mermaid ride, Haunted Mansion Holiday. That's just what I think of off the top of my head, but many other Disney attractions they have certainly contributed great work to, and they said that they're going to have some really interesting things at the D23 Expo. Also, the Van Eaton Gallery will be there. They always show off some really amazing pieces of animation history available for purchase if you have enough money, of course. So that should be one not to miss as well. Now, earlier I mentioned lines, and there will certainly be plenty of lines at the D23 Expo. A very long line for the arena, in fact. Now, who knows if Disney's going to do line management, queue management differently this time around. But last time, as I said, people lined up in the morning, got inside, got in line, and just waited to get into the arena. That's where the main presentations are, the biggest presentations, and if you get in line first thing in the morning, you could get in and enjoy, I guess the first one's going to be the Disney Legends presentation. Now, as far as I know, unlike San Diego Comic-Con, that arena is cleared between presentations. There's a few hours gap between them, and as a result of that, you can't just go in there and stay in your seat all day. You're going to have to go out and line up all over again, and so we'll have to wait and see how that all works out, but it's entirely possible that you could just stand in line all day if you want nothing but the best seats. Now, if you're okay with sitting far in the back or up really far away from the stage and, use binoculars to see everything, then you could show up a little bit later and still be able to get in. But if you want a really good seat, you should be prepared to wait in line for quite some time. There are, of course, many surprises in store. I think the biggest lines will probably be for the Walt Disney Studios presentation and for the Disney Parks and Resorts, definitely. Of course, Parks and Resorts will likely make some pretty big announcements, and then Walt Disney Studios should have a lot of celebrity guests and some surprises there as well. So those two, I would imagine they'll have some pretty long lines for. Probably not as long as, I keep mentioning San Diego Comic-Con just because I was just there, and for one of the panels, Michelle, my wife, insisted that we get in line about 7 hours before the panel started to ensure that we got in. It actually took about 5 hours to get through the line at that point. I don't anticipate any lines being nearly that long at the D23 Expo. San Diego Comic-Con is its own beast. But I would say an hour or 2 hours is not unheard of to wait in line to get a decent seat. And so having waited in a very, very long line at Comic-Con, I will not mind waiting just an hour or two at D23 Expo. Now, I mentioned the arena a few times. There are thousands of seats. I forget the exact seat count of the arena in the Anaheim Convention Center, but it's a lot. It's a huge area, all facing one big stage, but some of the seats are way in the back. There's a big stage in the front. There's HD screens. They're capable of showing 3D clips. They handed out 3D glasses in some of the presentations, but it just depends, again, on where you want to sit in there. If you're one of the first in line, you can get really, really close to the stage, like within a couple of feet of the stage if you're in the front row. But if you're way in the back, you could be so far that without binoculars, you're not going to see very well. Now, another very important point to make about the arena is not every presentation is going to be allowed to be photographed or recorded. There will be restrictions. Most likely the Walt Disney Studios presentation will have restrictions, possibly the Marvel presentation. And when they do that, last time around there was a massive security check where you had to fork over any bit of electronics, anything, to temporarily to security. They would put it in a bag, put it aside, lock it away, and you'd get it on the way out. But it was a slow process, and you couldn't bring a phone in, you can't bring a camera, you can't bring an MP3 player, you can't bring anything in there. And during the presentations, they have people walking up and down the aisles, making sure that not a single glowing screen can be found to ensure that none of this leaks out. And it's because Disney wants to be able to show off these exclusive, pieces of footage and all of that to the those who are in attendance. That's the idea. And it's not a right. It's it's something that's a benefit of going to the D23 Expo, and as such, you should be willing to surrender your electronics for the time being and just enjoy. Get off Twitter, get off Facebook, just sit back and enjoy the presentation at hand. Now, there are smaller presentations, of course, announced for the D23 Expo. There's not a ton of them announced right now. More may be coming this week. Some do overlap with other presentations, so you're going to have to plan ahead to see which ones you want to go to. Now, in 2009, there was an issue where the smaller presentations only fit a few hundred people and thousands wanted to get in. That may or may not be corrected this time around. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the situation is for those smaller presentations, but very long lines formed last time, not only for the arena, but also for these smaller rooms, and a lot of people got turned away. So if there's, if you want to see John Lasseter talk about Cars, or you want to see Tom Fitzgerald talk about Star Tours, if you're really dead set on one of these presentations, go early and line up to avoid disappointment. Now, while you're walking around the D23 Expo, don't forget to head upstairs. I didn't make it last time to the upstairs area until the final day, and that's where some additional exhibits are set up. Last time there was a Tron Legacy light cycle there. There was some Alice in Wonderland props set up, and then there was the big Disney Archives exhibit, which was really a treat to see. And it's something you don't want to miss just because you end up spending all your time in the main floor and you don't even realize that there are additional floors. Once again, Scott in the chat room is chiming in saying there were actually 3 floors. I don't even remember there being 3 floors, so maybe I didn't even make it to one of them. So, I'll take my own advice and be sure to explore the convention center as much as possible, so you don't miss out on anything. And while you're wandering around, don't only see one area. Make sure you go to this and that and this, and go to the presentations and everything. It all embodies everything that is the D23 Expo. Don't focus only on one small area of it, because you'll probably miss out on something really entertaining that you would be disappointed if you didn't see. I mentioned earlier the hours of the D23 Expo. It starts at 9 a.m. each day, officially. That's when the presentations and floor activities and things like that begin, and runs as late as 9:15 p.m. on Friday, 9:30 p.m. on Saturday, and 7 p.m. on Saturday. Very long days. I mean, that's more than 12 hours for 2 of those days. Be sure to wear comfortable shoes. I had some serious foot issues last time around. I did wear comfortable shoes, but I was on my feet so much over the course of 4 days. My feet were just killing me when I left. Fortunately, it's only 3 days this time, but really be conscious of how your body is feeling and take a break when you have to. Don't try to go for 12 hours, because you'll get really tired after a while. Just be sensible about what you wear there. No high-heeled shoes or clogs or anything. I don't know. Maybe clogs are comfortable. Last time in 2009, Disney said some costumes were allowed to be worn there. I'm not sure what the policy is this time around. I would assume you can get all dressed up, as long as you're not so dressed up that anybody confuses you as being an official Disney character. Short of that, it should be fine. But of course, be reasonable about what you wear. You want to be comfortable and be able to maneuver around the expo. Now, if in addition to all of that, you are planning on going to Disneyland, going over to the parks, not a whole lot of time, at least in these 3 days, depending on what you want to do over there. Really, you're only going to have a chance to go over at night unless you want to skip some of the daytime activities at the expo. Fortunately, the parks are open pretty late during those 3 days. Disneyland is going to be open until midnight on all of those 3 days, and California Adventure open till 10 p.m., plus World of Color. And, of course, weekends are pretty crowded at Disneyland. All the locals come out, and the Matterhorn is going to be closed for refurbishment. That's certainly worth noting. But all that aside, I definitely plan on hitting the parks after the expo, no matter how tired I am. Even if I'm a very slow-moving park goer, at that point I will still be hopping in there and taking my time and just enjoying what I can and squeezing it in while the expo is going on during the day. I've mentioned priorities, and I do want to emphasize this one more time. Read the schedule. Go to the website, read it, and read it again. Make a plan. Decide what is most important to you so you don't miss it. Just prioritize. Is something so important to you that you're willing to skip everything else? Well, do that, because you don't want to miss that. For me, the Parks and Resorts presentation and the Walt Disney Studios presentation are the most important out of all 3 days. I must get into those two. Everything else, I'll take what I can. Legend Ceremony would certainly be nice. I would like to see that. But Parks and Resorts and Walt Disney Studios are the two that I'm really, really looking forward to. So that's the kind of idea that you want to sort of get in your head as you're entering into the D23 Expo, so you can be prepared and not do what I did last time. Actually, I was in a press conference, I believe, and as a result of that, I missed the Muppets at the D23 Expo, which I heard was a really great presentation, and I wanted to go to it, but because I was somewhere else, at this, I don't even remember what press conference it was, I couldn't get into the Muppets, and that disappointed me. So those sorts of scheduling things is what you want to avoid, just by, planning ahead just a little bit. And finally, food. It is important to eat while you're at the D23 Expo. It may be tough to force yourself to actually sit down and say, okay, I can't do everything right now. I need to stop and actually eat something. The convention center food is all right. It's not awful, but it's not great. There's some decent food, some sandwiches that were near the arena, and some other, little bits of food here and there. At the San Diego Comic-Con, Michelle was actually making us some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to bring with us in a lunchbox every day, and that worked out really well. That way we didn't have to stop what we were doing and find some food, and, we could just kind of pull it out of a backpack and eat and go on our way. And I think that may be what we're going to do again, because the food can be a little bit pricey at the convention center, and just having time, finding the time to wait in line and get food and sit down and eat it, that could take an hour, and during that hour you might miss some other presentation. I remember at one point I hadn't eaten all day, and I suddenly realized that I was about ready to keel over because I hadn't eaten. So avoid that situation. Having a backpack certainly wouldn't hurt if you're going to, buy anything or pick up things, and of course you can keep your food in there as well. So with all of that said, most importantly, have fun. The D23 Expo is everything that a Disney fan could want out of a convention. There's going to be something for everybody there. You don't have to see everything. You can pick and choose what most interests you. If you like theme parks, which I'm sure if you're a fan of Inside the Magic here, then you are a fan of Disney theme parks. So you're going to want to go see the Parks and Resorts presentations. If you like movies, go to the studios. If you like Disney Channel, go to the Disney Channel presentation. You know what? If you don't, just skip it. Don't feel obligated to go to anything. Just simply go. Have fun, enjoy, chat with other Disney fans while you're in line, make some new friends, meet some people you've talked to online but have never met in person before. It's just a great way to just enjoy and really take everything Disney in from across the entire Walt Disney Company for a few days. So I know it sounds like a lot and a lot of tips and a lot to absorb, but if you just do a little bit of planning ahead, I think you're going to have a really amazing time. I loved all 4 days of it, and I can't wait to have another 3 days this year. So hopefully my tips here helped you out. Head on over to InsideTheMagic.net. I'm going to be putting a big banner up on the homepage this week where you can click and get a summary of everything I've posted about the expo thus far, scheduling updates and that sort of thing. And as we get closer, I'm sure I'll be posting more and more. And then into the expo itself, of course, I will be covering all that I possibly can. So be sure to keep checking back to InsideTheMagic.net and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube for all of the latest from the Expo. And as I said earlier, if you're going to be there and you spot me, be sure to stop me and say hi, because I look forward to meeting many of you.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi,
Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
Now we are running a bit long here, about an hour and two, but I didn't want to skip listener feedback because I have so many great emails and voice messages and all of that to share, so I did want to try to work as many of these as I can. I've been talking for quite a while. Voice is getting tired. It's the end of the day, but I don't have that many. So with all of that said, let's just jump right into it. First email is from Anna and John, who writes, my boyfriend and I are big fans of the podcast, and we've been listening for a couple of years. We're getting married in 4 weeks where we live in the UK, and we're having a pianist to play while we're assigning the register and while our guests are having reception drinks. We wondered whether you or any listeners had any suggestions for Disney music that he could play. Also on a completely different topic, we're both keen runners and come over to do the Disney Half Marathon this January. We had an amazing time, but noticed you didn't really mention the marathon on your marathon weekend on your podcast. Do you have any plans to cover the event next year or maybe even run it yourself? Well, Anna and John, first of all, congratulations on getting married. Sounds like you're going to have a wonderful wedding if you're going to be playing piano Disney tunes on there. We've certainly shared plenty of piano tunes on this show, the renditions from Tom Amin, which were kind of his own creations, but also many other tracks from all over. And, there's so many Disney songs that translate to piano music really, really well. I just looking at a list of ones that we've shared here on Inside the Magic before. You've got certainly music from Beauty and the Beast works really well. Lion King, Circle of Life, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? That sort of thing works. A Whole New World, Part of Your World. Anything else with the world in it, perhaps? It's a Small World? No, you probably don't want to play that at a wedding unless you got really big Disney fans there. When You Wish Upon a Star, Kiss the Girl sounds really great as some piano music. Let's see, in the chat room, Scott, once again, mentioned, as did Reno High Choirs, I See the Light from Tangled. That could definitely work really well as a piano tune. There's so many great Disney songs out there. Just think of the most popular, the most iconic songs from Disney animated classics, and those work really well most of the time as piano tunes. To answer your other question, we've talked about Disney marathons here on the show in the past. I never really got a lot of positive feedback or response about it, and personally, I'm not terribly interested in the marathons. I know there are many, many runners out there that are just gung-ho, ready to run, ready to do the marathons and love it. It's not for me. And as such, I tend to try to only cover things that interest me personally on the show. So probably not so much, marathon topic coverage on this show. And no, I'm not going to run it myself. I'd probably die. It's not the right thing for me for this show and for me to go out and do. It's just not my thing. But good luck with you coming out here to run it yourself. Next up, an email from Joe, who writes, my family's going to Orlando this summer, but no one wants to go to Disney World. We're going to Universal, SeaWorld, and some Disney water parks, but no one wants to go to Disney World. We've come to an agreement that we'll go to one park and that I need to pick which one. Which one should we go to? Well, that's certainly an unusual question. Usually it's the other way around. Everybody wants to go to Disney, and then you have to pick which other park you want to go to. But in this case, that's a tough one. I have to go with Magic Kingdom just because it is the classic Disney park. I mean, it's Haunted Mansion, it's Pirates, it's Space Mountain. You can't skip those things. It's, that is what makes up a Disney vacation. Yeah, Epcot is great. I love Epcot and Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom. But if I only had to go to one park on a vacation, it would have to be Magic Kingdom. That's just the way it goes for me, especially if you're going to all the other, Universal and SeaWorld and the water parks. How can you possibly skip Magic Kingdom? So that would be my opinion. But if you want to, depending on your group, depending on your family, to appease them, perhaps Epcot could be better depending on what they're looking for, because at Epcot you can get these really great dinners and lunches. If they're drinkers, they can certainly enjoy drinking around the world, as many do. There's a lot of live entertainment. There's certainly a great assortment of attractions. So it just depends on what you're looking for. But yeah, for me, Magic Kingdom is the way to go. Next up, an email that I sort of answered earlier. This is from Michael. Actually, this may have... It's in quotes, so maybe it was on Facebook or something. I don't know where this came from. Regardless, the question is, will there be any Expo meetups planned for this year? As I said earlier, yeah, I am hoping to do an Inside the Magic meetup, so just kind of stay tuned for the details on that. Definitely follow us on Twitter and Facebook for all the latest. You never know. It might be an impromptu, hey, I'm here, let's meet up sort of thing once we get there. We'll have to wait and see. Next up is actually a voice message from Chad.
Hey, Ricky, this is Chad from Michigan. Just giving you a quick call. I was going to email you, but I thought a voicemail might be a little bit quicker. Two things. I just wanted to thank you again for the surprise that you played on an episode back in June for my wife and I for our anniversary. She was completely surprised, and we just had an amazing trip. It was a great, great time. But just being able to play that on your show was a real big shock to her. So thanks for playing that. Second thing, my wife and I have really, really gotten into the Harry Potter things lately. We started reading the books. We're about halfway through the books, and we've seen all the movies. And we've just been really excited to, I know this may sound like blasphemy to a Disney fan, which I am, but we're actually thinking about headed to Universal to just spend a day just checking out the Harry Potter area there at Universal. So my question to you would be, what is the most ideal time to head over to Harry Potter? Because I know that is crazy, crazy busy over there. So what would be the best time when the crowds would be at the ultimate lowest for us to go? Because our schedule is flexible. So that would be my question to you. And again, thank you for playing that message earlier in June. And hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye.
Well, thanks very much for that call. No problem. Glad all of that worked out with you with the message. As far as visiting Harry Potter, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter over at Islands of Adventure at Universal Orlando, I was actually there earlier today. I hadn't been in a few months now, actually. I just decided I needed to take in a bit of Universal for a while. There is really certainly a lot to enjoy there. And as far as when to go, well, nighttime is always my recommendation on when to hit the Wizarding World. It's you could go kind of a little bit before sunset, see it during the day, walk around, enjoy all of it then, try to get on the rides as quickly as you can. There will certainly be some lines. And then when you come out of the ride, perhaps the sun will have set and you can walk around and see the Hogsmeade Village and Hogwarts Castle at night. It really is a gorgeous time to be there. It is lit absolutely beautifully. So that is certainly my recommendation if you can do that. Just depending on when you're going to come, the park may or may not be open late enough for you to enjoy the nighttime activities there, but if it is, that's when I would recommend it. And also, you probably will find less people there as the night moves on. So that would be my recommendation. Next up, an email from Kimberly, who writes, I believe that both Universal and Disney have a Florida annual pass payment that allows you to basically pay monthly installments. Have you heard anything about the potential for this for non-Florida residents at either? Well, I can totally recognize not providing this option for initial annual passes, but it would seem like a great idea to keep people renewing their pass. Any rumors in either direction on this? Kimberly, unfortunately, no. I haven't heard any ticketing rumors of any sort, really, that included. So, Florida residents certainly get an advantage to being local to those parks. Certainly a lot of opportunities to get discounted passes and have that monthly payment option and all of that. So, unfortunately, I have not heard anything of the sort. Sorry about that. Next is an email from Jonathan, who writes, I've been listening to the show for a couple of years, and it brought back a touch of magic that's been in my life since I've brought back a touch of magic into my life since I stopped working at Walt Disney World. I was a cultural rep in UK food and beverage at Epcot. Anyway, just caught up on the latest 2 shows, and someone mentioned about the music you used in the show and how to get it. I discovered a few days ago an application for the iPhone called Subsonic. It's a free app that allows you to stream music for free. Very simple and good application. Jonathan, thanks. I've actually had quite a few people suggest that over the years. Subsonic has been around for a very long time. You can access it on a website as well as the application. Certainly shares a lot of Disney music on there. Definitely a great way to hear it and to enjoy it. And whether or not they're paying any sort of licensing fees or have the rights or anything like that, I have no idea. But they do what they do, and they've been doing it a long time. So you can certainly enjoy it. Thanks for that tip. Next up, an email from Hiram from Arizona, who writes, our family is planning a trip to Disneyland in Anaheim in the beginning of October. We love going to the park when the opportunity is there, but never had I thought about visiting Walt Disney Studios in Burbank. Is there a certain time and day visitors can come and tour the studio, and is there a fee? Well, as far as I know, you can't book a specific tour for the Walt Disney Studios. Now, if you're a D23 member, occasionally there are some special opportunities that they make available where you for certain movie screenings or something like that you could keep an eye out for in order to get over there and have a chance to explore. And according to Scott, once again, who has been very helpful this episode in the chat room, saying Disney cast members can go into the studios with prior approval. But short of that, no, unfortunately, the studios is not available for the general public to just kind of waltz in. It is, of course, a working studio, and you can't just have people waltzing around there. You can pull up outside and see the 7 dwarves holding up the roof as the sculptures there as they are. And maybe peek in, catch a glimpse of the Legends courtyard, maybe. I don't know if you can see that from the street or not, but unfortunately, to answer your question, there is no way you can just outright book a time to get in or tour the studio. Next up, let's see, we have just kind of a note from West Coast Brian, who says, I just noticed today that Google has expanded their aerial view to include Anaheim. Go try it out at maps.google.com. Search for Disneyland and zoom in all the way, and you'll see Disneyland from an angle instead of directly overhead. It's a lot of fun. Definitely, Brian, that is great to know that they've added the aerial view. Of course, they've had aerial view in that it looks straight down, kind of like the satellite view, but they also have this sort of off to the side tilted view in some areas, and apparently Disneyland is one of those areas now, so good to know. I'll have to go check that out. Just a few more emails here. We've got a next one from Zach, who writes, my sisters and I are going to be visiting Walt Disney World in a little less than 2 weeks, and I was just wondering what the weather would be like. I did some research. Most weather sites often give predictions for the time we'll be going, not an actual forecast. I just want to make sure the rain wouldn't ruin our vacation. Well, Zach, I really wish I could answer that question. If I could predict the weather 2 weeks from now accurately, then I would probably be able to make a lot of money doing that. But I know as much as anybody else. I can pretty much guarantee that 2 weeks from now, being the middle of August, it's going to be hot, as it has been for many weeks now. It's going to be very, very hot. Chances are it's going to rain maybe around 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., possibly nighttime, but more like, mid to late afternoon. It's probably going to rain at least on one of the days you're here. And, there might be an off chance that some sort of, tropical storm or something like that might roll through. You never know, but I couldn't say one way or the other. It's really nothing that you should worry about. You can just kind of show up and expect the heat to be here. That's almost guaranteed. I can't imagine any kind of cooler weather is going to show up in the next couple of weeks. The rain, it may or may not happen, and don't let it ruin your vacation. Expect it to rain at least once while you're here. It's not going to ruin anything. Just take the time to head on inside somewhere, do some shopping, and, hit the Hall of Presidents or something. Next up, an email from Emily, who writes, my family and I are going to Walt Disney World August 28th through September 2nd. We opted to get a meal plan, and so far we're thrilled with our choice. We already set reservations for our sit-down meals, but aren't really sure what fast food meals are good and what snacks are available. Are there any fast food restaurants and snacks that you recommend? Do you have any tips for using the meal plan, such as using a snack for breakfast, what times to eat, etc.? Well, actually, Emily, thanks for that email. I have a couple of the favorite quick service restaurants that I can mention, but as far as meal plan, I am not terribly familiar with that because I don't book vacation packages for Walt Disney World for myself, obviously, because I live here. So I'm going to throw it out to anybody watching live in the chat room right now. If you want to chime in with any tips about using the meal plan, then maybe I can share those here. In the meantime, I'll say that over at the Magic Kingdom, currently Pecos Bill would be my go-to spot for food. There's some pretty good selection of there's a wrap and a burger and a great bar full of tomatoes and lettuce and mushrooms and onions and that kind of thing that you can put on just about anything there. So definitely some enjoyable food there. Over at Epcot, Electric Umbrella is a pretty standard place to get some quick service food. However, all around the World Showcase, there are a lot of counter service options to be found in just about every country there, and you'll find some pretty reasonable food at all of those locations. Over at Hollywood Studios, I'm not really a fan of any of the quick service locations there. There's a couple that are all right, but I really honestly don't even want to mention any of them because they're just not all that great. And over at Animal Kingdom, Flame Tree Barbecue is definitely my favorite counter service. There was, before Yak and Yeti was there was this really great counter service Asian offering. I forget what it was called, but that's gone. And now Yak and Yeti is there. So Flame Tree Barbecue is probably your best bet in that park. As far as tips for using the meal plan, somebody in the chat room, Sean Byster, mentioned you can use a snack option for breakfast. That is a good tip to have. Let's see, what else? Me Travel says it's lots of food on the meal plan. Get bottled water when you can for counter service. Good tip there. Also, Me Travel says Writer's Stop is a great spot at Hollywood Studios for a snack in the morning for coffee and a pastry. So some good tips there, definitely. And Scott chiming in once again, reminding me that it was the Chakranati Chicken House, as it was called at Animal Kingdom is what I was trying to think of. So thanks very much for that reminder. And yes, that place used to be good. Not that Yak and Yeti isn't good, but I enjoyed the food there. So anyway, Emily, hopefully that's a few tips that'll help you out when using the meal plan. And it looks like I've got one more email and a voice message, so let's do the voice message first.
Hey, Ricky, it's Dave from DigitalDisneyWorld.com. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I recently got my hands on a sneak preview of the new AT&T LG Thrill phone. And the first thing I did, it's a 3D phone, first thing I did was go to your website. I was able to download all of your 3D pictures onto that phone. And wow, amazing, amazing quality. So not just the Nintendo 3DS anymore. Now cell phones are going to be coming out with the ability to look at your site and enjoy the 3D pictures that you keep taking. So keep up the great work. The phone's coming out on August 7th, if anybody was interested in that. But it will work on the phone. Enjoy the show, Ricky. Have a good one.
Thanks very much, Dave. Good to hear that our kind of sub-site to Inside the Magic, Theme Parks in 3D, will work on that new the phone, which apparently is coming out today. I think you said it was the AT&T Thrill. I'm pretty sure there's an HTC 3D phone that's out there as well that should work with the same files. Definitely anybody who has either of those devices or a Nintendo 3DS or one of those Fuji 3D cameras, you can head on over to parksin3d.com or themeparksin3d.com or just insidethemagic.net/3D. That's where we've posted thousands of 3D photos from theme parks here in Orlando, in California, out in Paris, as well as several other destinations and events as well. And you can just browse through them and enjoy. So I put it all up there for everybody to kind of get a 3D view of the parks at home. And I know a lot of people have really enjoyed it so far. I should also mention that the Nintendo 3DS recently had a price drop. It was, I think, $250. Now it's it's dropped to $170 or $180. So definitely a better price point to get in there. And it comes with a 3D camera. It's a low-res camera, but still pretty good. I snapped a whole bunch more photos at Islands of Adventure today that I'll be sharing soon. So check it out. All of that over at parksin3d.com. Thanks very much for that call. And final email from John from Chicago, who writes, I am planning a short vacation in December this year. When will we start to hear information about Christmas events at Walt Disney World and Universal? John, great question. Halloween schedules certainly are out already and were out a few weeks ago, so I imagine Christmas schedules will be coming up pretty soon. As Halloween gets here, everybody, of course, is already looking ahead to the next holiday. And I imagine Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party will be returning, probably with nothing new, but you never know. And as far as Universal, they seem to change things up year after year. They're always changing schedules and adding appearances and musical acts and new items. So we'll have to wait and see what they have in store for the holidays this year. The Macy's Parade will probably be back again. So I don't know. Just keep tuning in, and we'll certainly keep you updated as soon as the Christmas schedules show up. And that'll do it for... actually, you know what? Before I wrap up listener feedback, I'm going to go ahead and, while I'm at it, why not? We're already an hour 22 into the show. If anybody in the chat room watching right now has a quick question, fire it off, and I'll see if you can answer. I know somebody already asked a question earlier, but I think I missed that. Oh, here it is. Jugrox1 in the chat room asked, what is your favorite old school attraction? Assuming by old school you mean something that's formerly at a Disney park that is no longer, and I would have to say Horizons for that one. Big fan of Horizons. I remember riding it many times. Always really looked forward to riding it whenever I visited Epcot, and was pretty devastated when I watched it being demolished for Mission Space. Not a fun time at all. Let's see what other questions we have here. K. Vinci in the chat room says, have you been to a rope drop, and any advice? Because I plan on going to Disneyland. Yes, I've been to many rope drops, and the advice is just to simply get there as early, not even as early as you can. Get there, 15 minutes, 20 minutes before the park is going to open, and stand out in front of where they're going to drop the rope and enjoy. It's really not much of a big deal to attend a rope drop. It's they have a sort of a fun moment there, depending on which park you were at. Different rope drop ceremonies, but you just kind of show up, you enjoy, you move on. Let's see. Next question in the chat room is, any word on Tim Allen and Tom Hanks' Jungle Cruise movie? Good question. I have no idea. Wouldn't it be great if at the Walt Disney Studios presentation they brought out a Tim Allen and Tom Hanks and they talked Jungle Cruise? That would be awesome. No, I have no idea. Certainly one of those things we could speculate about that they could bring out for the expo, but you never know. What else do we have here in the chat room? Is there any way to meet the Seven Dwarves at Disneyland? Ooh, another good question that comes from Corey Cook. Oh, the Tim Allen question came from Mike Arivalo? I don't know. I can't read. Seven Dwarves, I don't know if they ever bring out all Seven Dwarves at the same time at Disneyland. They do out here in Florida for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, but or is it the Christmas party? Or both? I can't remember. Maybe it's the Christmas party. Maybe it's both. Either way, I'm not off the top of my head aware of a time that you can meet all Seven Dwarves simultaneously, other than in a parade, which isn't really a meet and greet. So unfortunately, I don't know about Disneyland. Let's see. Next question from somebody. I just had one, and then I clicked off of it, and now I'm going back. Papa Disney 10 says, going to Disney World second week of September. When do the love bugs show up? Good question. They always seem to pop up when you least expect it. I'm not sure if there's... Gosh, what is the time of year? I feel like we've already done love bugs this year. I feel like that was a few months ago. Springtime? I can't remember. So, I'm pretty sure a few months ago is when when the love bugs already happened. Scott says they show up twice a year in the chat room, spring and fall. So I don't know. We'll have to see. And then Jay Menjez says you won't see love bugs anymore since Herbie left Lights and Motors action. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Lightning McQueen is there now instead. No, unfortunately, if only that were true, we still will see those darn love bugs flying around. All right, let's do one or two more questions and wrap this up. I'm sure I need to go eat some dinner. Favorite place to get ice cream, Adventureland or Fantasyland? Well, the Dole Whip is the go-to a treat for me, so definitely Adventureland there. No question about it, although the ice cream on Main Street is hard to ignore sometimes. Let's see, one more question from the chat room as it's jumping all over the place. It is, and yes, I like Dole Whips, if that was a surprise to anybody. Anything, good question to end all of this from me, Travel, once again. Anything I want to bid on at the D23 Expo? Well, yeah, back in 2009, I certainly lost the Hatbox Ghost that Kevin Kidney and Jody Daly had painstakingly hand recreated. A really amazing piece, and boy, did I want that to be in my house. Unfortunately, it went for several $1,000s more than I was willing to pay, and I heard that maybe Guillermo del Toro, who's working on the new Haunted Mansion movie, that he now is in possession of that. I have not confirmed that. I don't know if that's actually true. But anyway, if he's the one who got it and I didn't, then I suppose that's all right. He is much richer than I am, presumably. Yeah, he is. So this year, yeah, there's more Haunted Mansion stuff to be found in the auction that'll probably go for many thousands of dollars more than I'm willing to pay. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I actually head on in there and bid on anything or not. Undecided at this point. So yeah, we'll wrap it up on that question since we had so much D23 Expo talk. That's a good place to stop. So that'll do it for listener feedback this week.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And that'll about wrap up show 331 of Inside the Magic. Hopefully for any of you planning to go to the D23 Expo 12 days from now, my tips from earlier will help you have a better experience. It'll be a good experience no matter what you do. But as long as you follow a few bits of my advice, maybe you'll have an even better experience. And I'll see you there. Definitely stop by, stop me, say hi whenever you can, and we'll work out some sort of meetup hopefully while we're there, as long as the schedule doesn't get even more crazy than it already is. And keep heading out to our website and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube while we're there to stay on top of all of it. I do want to thank, of course, Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. And I also want to add to that list that you can now sign up for a free trial of audible.com and receive a free audiobook if you do it through our special link. That's at audibletrial.com/insidethemagic. So we would get a small bonus for you signing up there, and it is free for you to try, and you can get access to their 85,000 plus titles. If you like podcasts, Audible is a great way to further your MP3 or listening entertainment into the world of audiobooks. Also, be sure to visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all of the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available. You can request a price quote today to receive a free digital preview of your lanyard design. And as I've mentioned many times in the past and even earlier in this show, visit us online at insidethemagic.net. You'll find our show notes for this week's show, as well as all of our podcasts and videos and photos and news and all of that good stuff, and links to Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and keep up with all the latest Disney and theme park fun between episodes of this show. So thanks to everybody who's listening out there. Thanks to everybody who's watching live on this late Sunday edition of Inside the Magic and who's been with us in the chat room. Glad you had a chance to tune in. And, of course, the video replay will be up on YouTube sometime tomorrow. So that's about it. Have a magical week. Goodbye.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.